stop it. I didn't not even have that many features. Go away. Stop. I didn't not even have that many features. Just stop it. Stop. You're probably wondering how I got here. Well, I got a little silly with job classes. So, I wanted there to be 8 job classes in my game. Each job class would have 4 skills unique to it, with mostly unique properties. Each skill, and you'll see the problem here, had its own minigame. And that's when this little stinker decided to attack. In the end, we decided to bargain. Alright, so 8 classes, 4 skills, 1 minigame for each skill, that's, 32 minigames? See, the issue is, feature creep. I'm going to have to cut this down. Look, here's the reality of it. I'm taking inspiration from games like Paper Mario and WarioWare, and a bit from The Legend of Dragoon. When I look at these inspirations, I realize something. Let's take a look at WarioWare, for example. Most of those minigames are a variation on when to time the A button press. The challenge comes from identifying cues and then timing the input. It wouldn't work without the frantic pace. Even Paper Mario, The Thousand-Year Door, there's a lot of copy-pasting for minigame mechanic, but the presentation is varied or one small but meaningful element is changed. Mario's jumps copy from each other with small variations. Goombella's jumps are basically the same as 2 of Mario's. Coop's Shell Toss and Power Shell is just Mario's hammer minigames, but with the distinction that you can miss the timing window about 3 times before the minigame fails, and the presentation is different as well. Baby Yoshi's Swallow Attack is just the Bob-omb's exploding attack, I forget his name, and that's not to mention how many of those are borrowed from the first Paper Mario game. And then there's The Legend of Dragoon. There's only 3 minigame types in the entire game. Dragoon attacks, items, and additions. Dragoon attacks all have the same revolving timer minigame, items all have all the same button mashing minigame, and the only minigame with variance is the additions. I guess what I'm saying is, feature creep, you can kick rocks, because I'm doing 1 minigame. End of story. Let's do 1 minigame type with variance. Tell them that we can just do 1 minigame with variance, and then we can get around it with a little. Tentative agreement at 2. Where do we go from here? Mockups, of course. I want to make sure you can read the input and understand what you're reading at a glance. Drafting up icons for their first minigame set would lay the groundwork. They're the least elaborate in terms of animation. Well, if you're using keyboard controls, I'm gonna have to change that to Z or X. Man, being able to tell at a glance whether the prompt wants you to tap Z or X is going to throw people off. I'm still not all that sure what to do about it, but that's a headache for later. I've set up my input events so that it's not too much of a hassle to change input mapping on a whim. For me, not for the player. Alright, so let me draft up a game plan here. Sweet. Now let me just clickety-clack on them clickety-clack keyboard and get this in there. Get that in the game. Alright, this thing's gonna work first try. Let's go. Oh, son of a bitch. Take 2. When I talk to this guy, the button in the HUD should show, and the game should give a cue when I give the correct or incorrect input. Hell yeah, baby, first try, like I said earlier. So, what about the other variations? Well, for this one, I'm gonna have it loop 4 times so that you have to press the correct shoulder button 4 times in a row. The only difference for this one is a frickin' loop counter, bro. Okay, maybe that wasn't as easy as I thought. I have to make sure to run the randomizing events again and reset the timer so that the shoulder button isn't the same each time and the timer, resets. Mwah, perfect. Alright, so this one is going to attack in a row. So let's get to attacking a row of school children. No, I do mean attack a row of school children. I hope these children learn something from this, because I'll do it again. This is a quad formation attack. This attack's range is 4 enemies in a square formation. Oh yeah, working out the quad. Oh, mama. Okay, so the idea for this one is that the minigame doesn't end until the timer runs out. So this one should be pretty simple. I mean, all I had to do was move where the timer was so that it didn't get reset. And then I removed the loop counter. Then I changed the condition to break the loop. Then I went to the store, or so I told my family, and became an absentee mother. Alright, let's test these good boy minigames. Yes. Quite. Indeed, top 4. cock sip and all that. Okay, so I'm at a bit of an impasse here. You see, I have an idea. No, fuck off. It's literally nothing to implement this. You see, I want a rapid row and a rapid quad minigame where you can keep hitting the enemies as much as you want, first with the target having a long timer with multiple inputs, then with the whole group having one timer, and each input moves on to the next enemy before cycling back. Where there's an issue, I want enemies who will counterattack you if you use the wrong type of attacks against them. In the other attacks, if you didn't want to attack one enemy in your target range, you just wait out the timer. Here, now what do I do? If the timer runs out, the minigame ends, rather than moving on to the next prompt. One solution is to have it so that pressing the wrong input moves the player onto the next enemy to attack. My worry here is that this isn't consistent with the rules of the other minigame. I don't want the minigames to be too punishing, so you'll still do damage if you fudge the minigame. So this is bending the rules. A solution to this is to simply state in the skill help menu that, hey, missing means you move on to the next target. It doesn't mean that the minigame ends. I don't know, I guess I'll just have to playtest it. So that's it, that's all the minigames. There's enough variety between attacks to keep the game fresh, but enough similarity so that the player isn't overwhelmed or confused. Where's the drama? Where's the struggle? The thing with the defensive minigame, was that it was so variable and referential and abstract, it was bound to run into problems while I was developing it. The attack minigame is self-contained and follows basic rules and fewer contingencies. And, because I've made so many, they'll only repeat at most twice throughout the game. I don't think that's a bad thing either. The trick is the very presentation. So, it's ready to go into the battle system already? No, we agreed. 2 minigames. This is one, the defensive minigame is the other. I had like 3 devlogs dedicated to it, man. Anyway, RPG ain't ready. If I want this to work, I'll have to modify RPG Maker's targeting system. What I just did was the easy part. I'm hoping this isn't the inverse of the defensive minigame, where there's a reversal of fortune, wherein my life goes from easy peasy to squeezy lemon in my eye. There's only really 3 modifications I have to make to targeting. So 1, by default, RPG Maker has the enemies that you're selecting flash, which is fine, but I'd rather have something else, like a little reticle. 2nd, also by default, is that RPG Maker doesn't have many options for targeting ranges. If I want to target a quadrant or a row, that's going to take a little bit of customization. So I'm going to drop the reticle, now I'm going to script the event, and let's see how it works without polish, of course, because I'm just testing things. Oh, did it work? Now I'm going to make the cursor do the work for me by having it move to the correct position. Hold up. Okay, look at this. I have a switch statement for an evaluation that doesn't need one, or doesn't work with one, nested in an if statement, one that makes the rest of the switch statement. No, this is just nasty. I'm blurring this out. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have shown you that. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. Alright, looking good so far. Oh, stop. Hey, look what I just did. Alright, next up I'm just going to take the skill ID from the menu, and now I'm going to use the notes, remember those from the last video, to determine which range the skill will use. So now, if a skill has one of the following tags, the targeting interface will change to match. Let me get this whole row targeting thing working real quick. Okay, just how I wanted it. Uh-oh, haha, uh-oh, haha, uh-oh, haha, oops, haha, uh-oh, haha, don't take hours to fix, uh-oh, haha, no, please. Alright, that's fixed. There's still one problem. If you want to target which row the player is selecting, you have to press right 4 times. Not very cash money. You may be thinking, just check for an input and move it up. And it's not that simple. I actually have to use a loop. Oh my god, a loop. Check if the enemy is still alive. Oh, what if they're dead? That's insane. That is insane. That is so much work. Oh, what if they weren't in the correct row? Okay, so I was kidding, of course, but then it turned out to be serious, because when I tested it with enemy troops missing, it took me a good few hours to get it to work properly. But it works, hacker, lesbian, math, man, that's me. Alright, so I'm basically just gonna copy the skill that I was using for row, one blow, and change it to grumblow. And then, about half a day later, because oh my god, is translating a list into a visual grid representation almost impossible unless it is just a linear sequence, I guess. Look at any other devlog about representing an itemized list visually, and you can see the rabbit hole, the full iceberg of how stupid complicated the seemingly easy task is. And trust me, I tested this shit in every which way to Sunday. I'm making sure that there are no issues if there are enemies missing and okay, it's all working.